Oh, RebelCon's been fantastic. I think that, while we're in classes with the guys most of the time during the week, one of the things we're able to do here is we're actually able to interact with them. And, well, once you get to meet somebody in person, talk with them in person, the communication bandwidth increases. So this has been great. The people that I've met that are also trading, that I'm also in the Rebel Pit with, and we are exchanging text messages back and forth, the camaraderie is just excellent. So I recommend anytime they have an in-person event, you got to come and attend.
Join us this December in Miami, Florida for Market Rebellion Live.
We were just informed by Jared that he somehow sat on the mute button and we had no audio.
Come on, Jared. Jesus criminy.
Well,
now he's going to mute me.
He might. We're going to skip over the macro minute. That's how damn important that is. And we're going to go right into LYFT, Pete.
Yeah.
LYFT, not lifting at all. They reported disappointing earnings. Adjusted per share, Pete. I don't know if you saw this one, but they lost $1.18 versus making, that's right, making 9 cents. That's a pretty big deal when you lose that much money, over $1 a share versus expected to make money, isn't it?
John, this is going to shock you. Get ready for it.
Okay.
They don't make money. I mean, there's a real problem when you don't make money. Uber has proved it for many, many years now. And then Peloton's starting to prove it, seems like, for quite a long time. And Lyft has just jumped on board and said, you know what? We're on that bandwagon. We're down 20%. We're right bumping against those 52-week lows. It's absolutely pathetic. And to lose $1.18, John, when you're, we might make 9 cents. Really? Well, I mean, what in the hell is going on? These guys have great businesses that are not great businesses to invest in. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, Pete. I'm in an Uber every week, not because I'm lazy, but when I'm on the road, it just doesn't really pay to rent a car and pay to park it and all that kind of stuff. Have to hassle about filling it up before I bring it back. So in most cases, including when I was out in Utah last week or down in Dallas last week, I went in an Uber in one city and in a Lyft in the other. And they're both a lot higher than they were a year ago, Pete. But the drivers tell me they're making less. Yeah. So I'm kind of scratching my head thinking, how is it possible that these men and women doing the driving are making less, and yet my bill is higher and these companies are losing money faster? Doesn't sound like a good business to me.
All right. Model's bad.
So I'm both hands like this, Pete. I'm not a buyer here. Yeah. Let's talk about DuPont. Maybe we are buyers here. They actually managed to shield themselves from some of the higher prices that are out there for some of the goods that go into what they produce. And what are those? Well, semiconductors for water and general industrial. Believe it or not, DuPont, symbol DD, has a lot to do with that. And because of some of the actions that the management took, they were able to overcome the higher prices that they have to pay, and they were able to make more money. Imagine that, Pete.
It's nice to make money, isn't it? Especially when year over year, John, they made 69 cents, 48 cents a year ago, 69 cents this quarter. That shows you what they're doing. They're doing a lot of things right. The stock started off the year at 83. It did hit 50. Now it's at 67. It's coming back pretty nicely, at least right now. But yeah, John, they've done a lot of things right, I think, and they've had to, they've got to navigate these markets just like everybody else. Their organic sales were up about 11%. Their pricing gains, which is what you were just talking about, they've managed to be able to price things still at a level where they can make money and the other folks are still in demand of this. So because of that, those pricing numbers are up about 8% as well. This is a company that just continues to crush it. They're doing a great job, I think, navigating through difficult times, but they at least do make money, right? I mean, it's nice to make money. That's what good companies do.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say that I wish I bought it at 50, Pete, but here with the stock trading at 66, I think if you've got it, folks, you look for a number like probably around 76 to the upside from here. So between here and there, I would be a seller, not of the stock, Pete, but of calls against it because of what I just heard, what you just described. Seems like they're doing things right. And rather than exiting the stock just after this recent pop, I'd rather sell some covered calls against it.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'd play it. What about this Task, Pete? The company's called Task Us. It is an IT player. They came out with earnings of about 35 cents versus, I think, 30 cents was what the street expected. So it was a 16 or 17% surprise to the upside. Volume, strong demand in semis and so forth. I kind of like the way that these guys set up, Pete. Well, how about you?
Yeah. And John, the interesting thing is you got a 10% short. That used to be huge. These days, it's not as big now when you say that compared to so many other companies where you're looking at 20%, 26%, and some of those, the Bed Bath Beyonds, all those different meme type stocks. But this did help, I think, propel this stock to the upside. As you talked about, yeah, they were able to earn 35 cents looking for 30 cents. They've had 4 quarters in a row where they've beat the expected earnings. So they're doing a lot of things right, John. I like what they're doing. I think this is one of those quality companies. You look at the balance sheet, it's not perfect. It's not, fantastic. They do burn some cash. But with that 10% short, these are the kind of days where you get those kind of moves like we're seeing today, up about 33%. Am I going to chase it? I don't think I'm going to chase this one, John, but it's certainly a name I want to keep in mind probably over the next couple of cycles in terms of earnings because they are on a roll and they continue to be on a roll.
Right. Shares were down 64%, folks, year to date since the beginning of the year. That's no good, but making a strong comeback now. But like Pete says, I'm a patient buyer, not a chaser here either. All right, TripAdvisor. So all they did, Pete, was announce that they had weak quarterly profits, slow down in revenue. They basically projected out saying, hey, we don't know when things are going to turn around here. Stock's at its lowest level since August. Would you dip your toe into TRIP or do you take a trip somewhere else?
I think you got to take a trip somewhere else, John. And the reason I say that is their marketing, they talked about their marketing and how much their spend really is. And it's about 58% higher than it had been, John. That's a big number. You got to just kind of question that and how they're having to acquire folks. And that's a problem. That cost is just way too high. Their outlook themselves, looking out into the future of earnings, wasn't very bright either, John. So I think there's a lot of reasons where, you know what, stock's down 17%. It probably could go lower, even though people are wanting to travel, people are traveling. But I think this is still something where when your cost is that high, it starts to make me feel a little bit more like an Uber or a Lyft, where it's like, hey, man, these guys are having a hard time getting the right customers and making money on those customers. So I think for right now, my hands would be out. I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, planes are packed, but people are smart. They're shopping for the best price ticket. I'm not saying that there's a big difference between a link that you get with TripAdvisor and you might be dumped over at Trivago or Expedia or whatever, Pete. But TripAdvisor used to be just an advisory that then started getting a spiff from throwing people over onto these other booking websites and so forth. But they're a lot more than that now. And like you said, it's the marketing cost that's really hurting them. And until they can get that under control, find either a better way or maybe even a partnership somewhere, this is one that I don't want to chase either. So I think we're both the same on that, stepping away. Yeah. All right, time for unusual option activity. If you join us on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 4 days that we do unusual option activity here on the Rebel's Edge, well, you know what, Pete? Then they heard about Coinbase yesterday. Nice. When the stock was $60. You know what it hit this morning? 49.08. And then, and that's on Sam Bankman-Fried, His FTX, Pete, at one time he was supposedly worth $24 billion. Now his company is that close to insolvent. I'm not the one saying it. I'm the one expressing what all the websites are saying. And because of that, there's both a run on his bank, if you will, Bankman-Fried, get it? And if he can't provide the clarity of when people are going to be able to withdraw funds, they worry that they might be locked up for a while, Pete. And for that reason, they basically got thrown into the arms of Binance. The richest guy, as far as we know, in crypto is CZ, the head of Binance. And he basically signed a letter of intent saying, I'll buy it. So that token over there at FTX, which is FTT, that token was down huge today. And it's been trading down, down, down. And that's because of those liquidity fears, even for probably the second or third richest guy in crypto. So anyway, you miss out on that. That's what you miss, folks, when you don't watch the Rebel's Edge every day.
That was a great call by you. It was a great call by you. Honestly, I mean, 10,000 of those puts are bought, John. You highlighted them yesterday, and look at today. Unbelievable. That's a great, great call.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's the team, not just me, as you know.
Great team.
Thank you. All right, let's dive into this one today, folks. It's another 10,000 lot of options. Every option is for 100 shares. So when you see 10,000 options, that means 1 million share equivalent. They were bullish. They're buying the November 23 calls in IGT. This is International Game Tech. They make a lot of casino type games and lottery machine type things. Well, that is a very big focus for a lot of people going back to the casinos, wherever those casinos are, Tupelo, Mississippi, or, you know, Las Vegas or Macau. These guys make the one-armed bandits and so forth that you're playing, and they get a royalty, Pete. They don't just sell them. They get a royalty every time somebody puts a little money in those machines. Yeah. So November 23 calls, the stock's basically right there, 22.75. I bought the at the money calls, and my intention is to sell upside calls against it.
I love it, John. I'm going to go to the pharmaceutical side of things. I've always been a guy who leans in that direction anyway. When I started off trading, when I left football, you put me in a pit where I had a lot of different biotechs. We had some pharma names. I've loved Merck for a long period of time. And there's another name out there that I've been in and out of, but I should have been in for a long time, Lilly. We're seeing some option paper in there today, John. When you look at Lilly and Merck, by the way, they're both year-to-date up about 32 to 33% each. Gives you a little bit of an idea. Not the entire world is getting smacked. There are parts of the markets that still are doing very, very well. Lilly and Merck definitely part of that in terms of the pharmaceuticals. So at 364 today, and by the way, it did bump up against new 52-week highs for Lilly. But at 364 today, we had a buyer of 4,400 of the December 380 calls in Lilly. And these were going for a little over $9, John. Very interesting to see that, because somebody not too terribly long ago bought exactly the same number, 4,400 of the November 360 puts. And now today they're selling those, but they want to stay in the trade. Those are my favorite trades. Follow somebody who's made a lot of money, who's excited about what they're doing, and they want to still stay there. That says a lot to me. They sold their options, those 360s, for a little over $10 today. When you look at Lilly, we're talking Alzheimer's, we're talking cancer, we're talking diabetes, obesity, all of it, John. They literally cover it all, doing a magnificent job. One of the best performers out there. I love seeing these calls today in Lilly.
Yeah, me too, Pete. And that is one that sadly I've somewhat overlooked too. I notice it whenever I'm in a drugstore, how many times I see their name on the various things on the shelf. But I was not in, but this is pretty strong buying. So I'm joining you in this trade. 2 thumbs up for Lilly today. Cool. All right, Pete. You started off the show with when people couldn't hear us because, again, Jared was sleeping on the
Way to go, Jared.
His elbow on there or something. And the world needs ditch diggers too, Jared. Keep that in mind. Nahil is nipping at your heels.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
But at the top of the show, folks, we were talking about, what is it, Saturday or Sunday? What's going on? And we're basically joking around about Jim Irsay over with the former Baltimore Colts, now down there in Indianapolis. And wow, Pete, this guy makes some crazy moves, and he just made another.
Jim Irsay is one of the all-time great guys, and here's why. I'm not saying he's very often even right, John, but the guy shoots from the hip and just says, the hell with it. Let it all land. I don't even know, Jared, a guy your age, do you know that they used to be in Baltimore? I mean, this is the Colts. They were the Baltimore Colts. That was,
I did not know. No, I don't.
That forever. And in the dark of night, they slipped out of Baltimore, went to Indianapolis, and voila, there's a football team playing called the Indianapolis Colts. It is interesting, John. He goes out and he hires Jeff Saturday after he fires Frank Reich. Now, is it Reich's fault? Well, maybe. You know, I mean, they've gone out, they've gotten him quarterbacks. It hasn't panned out. He's a former quarterback whisperer. He was a quarterback himself who was a great quarterback. So you would think you have the right guy. Things just weren't working out. The Colts have been absolutely terrible, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side. It doesn't matter. The team has really imploded and they needed something. So they fire the head coach. Irsay fires the head coach. He does keep the general manager who's hanging around as well. And so he and the general manager got together and said, you know what? We're going to hire a guy who's got zero experience. The guy coached high school football once. And now Jeff Saturday, who did play in the NFL. He's a hell of a football player, John. We all know him from ESPN. He's been on for probably the better part of 10 years or more. Does a great job. But now he's the head coach of an NFL football team with literally no experience. A team that had does have Gus Bradley, who was a head coach. He's a defensive coordinator. They also got John Fox, used to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and they're on the staff, but they weren't elevated up. They didn't take anybody from the staff. They said, you know what? And they didn't say they. He said, I think Jeff Saturday is going to be a guy that I think can finish this season out. So that's how they're going to play it, John. As far as I know, the contract reads for this year. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I would be surprised if he extended it any farther than that. But what an interesting move to do that, to go outside of the box that far. I got a lot of buddies of mine, and they're in that world that would love, they'd be dying to get an opportunity to be a head coach in college or pros without any experience. I'd be one of those, by the way. I'd love to do it. You know, I kicked around a GM role this past offseason that people probably don't know much about. But in any case, it's interesting to see what's going on right now there with the Colts, John. And you know what? We got a second segment we're going to talk about next after you get some commentary here. This ties into the Colts. But go ahead. What do you think of this move?
Well, I mean, you know, when I look at Indianapolis Colts, Pete, obviously a lot of us think of Peyton Manning and those years with Tony Dungy and how well they did. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, they drafted a great quarterback, but for whatever reason, what was it? Luck, right, Pete? Yep. Luck decided that he didn't want to be there and he didn't want to risk his health. So he decided, you know what? I'm out of here. It's really tough when a great number one pick quarterback decides just to hang it up. Now, these days, because of some of the injuries these guys have sustained, once they get rich enough, they're sitting there thinking, I don't know if I need more than 40 mil. You know, yeah, I know, you know, Mahomes and these guys are getting $300 million contracts, but, you know, 40 is enough to keep me happy. And I like walking around and talking. And, you know, there's a risk that maybe I won't be doing that if I take this job. Because I don't know if you've seen the offensive line for the Colts, Pete, but it's not like it was when Saturday played. Right. So that's all I'll say, really. As you know, the center is really, you know, sort of like a second quarterback, except instead of reading the defense as far as the defensive backs decide where you throw the ball, he's reading the line and seeing where the stunts might be coming and things like that. So if he's a leader, I think he can do the job, and I think he is a leader. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him have some success. So good luck, Jeff. And we'll have to see what happens after the season.
Well, Here's the opportunity, John. Here's what makes this interesting. Do you know who the Colts play this week? They play the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. And the Raiders, who I thought were going to be absolutely spectacular. I thought their defense, they did a lot of great stuff in the offseason. Their offense, you obviously pick up this great wide receiver that played together in college with Carr and Fresno State, and everything's going to be great. And I thought the Raiders are going to be one of these teams that would be about 6-2. Well, they're 2-6. And they've lost 4 of the last 5 games, John. Why is that? Well, it's really not Derek Carr's fault. It's not anything to do really with the offense at all. It's the defense, and the defense is terrible. That might be good for the Colts, by the way. Here's how terrible they are, John. The Las Vegas Raider defense has 9 sacks this year. To give you a little bit of an idea, by the way, it's the worst in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys have 33. So think about that for a second as far as, okay, are you pressuring the quarterback? The answer is no. Next, they got 3 interceptions, John. They're 4th from the bottom in the NFL. Philadelphia's got 12. Another idea of, well, the defense is not intercepting the ball. They're not pressuring the quarterback. They're giving up a lot of passing yards. They don't seem to be able to stop anybody, and that's become a major problem because their offense is doing just fine. Here's the big problem. Their defense has given up 25 points per game pretty much across the board every single game. Last 4 games, John, they've won 1, they've lost 3. You know how many points they gave up? 100. That's 25 points per game. I mean, you can't make it up how ridiculous this is and how bad that defense is for the Raiders this year. It's just terrible, and that might give Jeff Saturday his first win. It really could happen this week in his first game as a head coach. He might get his first win.
Yeah, well, and why not, Pete? We've seen that happen. I saw it happen in Colorado after they fired the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, and then another guy gets basically promoted up to the head coaching role to finish out the season, and they beat Cal when the Cal was giving them like 17 points. So we've seen it happen. You know, the players are just fed up with the situation and they just want to get something on the board, and kind of makes their whole year. This could easily make Indianapolis's whole year, because playoffs.
Greatest coach of all time. And that line will be live in infamy, John.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. Remember, we've added Wednesdays to the Rebel Edge. So now we're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We encourage you guys to tune in tomorrow. Make sure you check out that marketrebellion.com/Miami for those of you who want to attend that Miami event, December 8th through 10th. Still a couple tickets remaining, so sign up now. Pete and I'll see you tomorrow.